Hello, everyone, and welcome to Right Off Track, the podcast that embarks on an expedition through the captivating stories of individuals who've embraced unique paths on their journeys towards personal success. Today, our spotlight shines on the force to be reckoned with, Nausheen I, Chen, a French-Pakistani visionary and virtuoso of the spoken word. Nausheen's story, however, is more than a tale of mastery. It's a testament to the power of redefinition. In the year 2022, she wasn't just a coach or a TEDx luminary. She was a filmmaker who spent 7 years crafting stories on screen. She built an entire boutique filmmaking agency from scratch, compelling it to an astounding 1 million in revenue. Yet, even those who seemingly have it all figured out encounter crossroads. Burnout was a reality, and Nausheen found herself at a junction where her passion for filmmaking flickered. Uncertainty loomed, and it was a digital platform, LinkedIn, that breathed new life into her narrative. With unwavering determination, Nausheen embarked on a transformation. She started writing every day, sharing her insights and experiences. She engaged with her audience every day, igniting meaningful conversations. She networked with purpose every day, forging connections that would prove pivotal. In this journey of self discovery, Nausheen's true passion emerged like a guiding star: public speaking. What had been lingering in plain sight was now an undeniable calling. It stirred a fire within her, a fire she was determined to unleash. And as she started her newfound passion, a remarkable realization dawned. She could help others find their voice too. The response was resounding. They wanted to learn to work alongside this beacon of transformation. And so, at the age of 39, Nausheen made a bold decision. She bid farewell to her filmmaking business, a chapter that defined her for years. And at and at 40, she embarked on a courageous journey of reinvention, emerging as a luminous public speaking coach. This is a story that shouts through the mountaintops, it's never too late to become who you're meant to be. As Nausheen shows, life is an unending canvas of possibilities, inviting us to shed the constraints that hold us back. So, dear listener, as you join us on this episode, take note of Nausheen's journey, a journey that navigated the world of filmmaking and public speaking, a journey that uncovered the power of redefining oneself. Get ready to be inspired as we dive into the inspiring life of Nausheen I, Chen, a living testament that embracing the unconventional can lead to unparalleled success. Without further ado, I'm so excited to have you here, Nausheen. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Anya. That was such an amazing introduction. It's just the light at the end of my day today on Friday. So thank you so much.
I appreciate you joining us. I'm here in Seattle, Washington area. Where in the world are you so our listeners can know?
I'm in Toulouse, France.
That sounds amazing. I'm jealous. I'll come visit.
Please do.
I would love that. Take my 3 kids on the plane. It'll be great. But before we dive in, I just want to do a little shout out. I always try to recognize the people that made this possible. So, Jane, if you're listening to this, thank you so much. She's just an amazing human being and connector. She was on our podcast. Check out our episode. And she was like, when I asked her who would be a great person for the podcast, she was like, okay, you have to reach out to this amazing human being. She has this amazing story. And I looked and did your LinkedIn check and your Instagram check, and I was so impressed. Not only because you're helping people find their voice and become confident in it, but also like you've made significant changes in your life that weren't easy, I can imagine, and you were sharing that so authentically. So I'm really excited to dive into that.
Thank you. I'm very excited to have this conversation.
Me too. And if you don't mind, just like take it wherever you want to start, because I know you've had a lot of achievements along the way, but could you share a little bit of like what the journey was like getting to those success points, even to like the filmmaking agency is in itself a great endeavor, but then you found a pivot that was necessary to get to where you're today. So can you share like what was that journey like to get to one amazing accomplishment? And then why did you pivot to this?
Sure. So, Anya, you know that annoying kid who always gets up in front of the entire family and recites the most boring poem ever? I used to be that annoying kid.
That's
I have
awesome.
Yeah, it was. I didn't realize how awesome it was till very recently,
Yeah.
but I have always been in love with performing on stages, performing in front of people in different shapes and forms. And not just performing, but speaking,
Mm,
training, and coaching. But I always did it on the side.
mm,
My first career was in the corporate world. I was in Procter and Gamble doing marketing and PR. And on the side, I became a communication skills trainer. I was training people double my age in presenting well and communicating well, but it was something I was doing on the side. I had no idea that that is what I should be doing, not marketing and PR. 5 years later, I left the corporate world, had my first big pivot where I just meandered around for a while. I traveled, did some improv, stand up comedy, theater, meandered into film. It was never the plan. It was never my dream. I was never a filmmaker. My partner at the time, he was a musician and a filmmaker and a creative soul. So I just went along for the ride, but I ended up in New York studying film. And then I ended up in China where I started this filmmaking agency. Again, I was never an entrepreneur. I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs at all. I come from a family of teachers and government workers. So it was all very, very new and it completely took over my life. In the 7 years that you talked about that I was a filmmaker, every year I had multiple moments where I would ask myself, Nausheen, what are you doing? You're not a filmmaker. Why are you in this? But I was in too deep, especially when you start growing and you start a small team and you have salaries to pay, people to take care of, projects, clients. It all just takes over your entire life. And before I knew it, 7 years had passed. And I had another one of those moments where I was telling my husband, I am so unhappy. I feel like I've created a prison for myself because I can't even blame anyone. It's my own thing. But I feel so stuck. I don't want to be here, but I don't know where else I want to be. I don't know what else I want to do with my life. And he said, Nausheen, do you realize that you love speaking on stages? Because he had seen me do it for the last 10 years that we'd been together, and he knew that I was doing it before as well. And I said, sure. I was like, where is he going with this? And he said, why don't you figure out a way to earn a living through speaking? And I said, nah, who's going to pay me to speak? I'm no Tony Robbins. It's never going to work out.
Yeah.
He encouraged me. He said, just try it anyway. You can't possibly be more unhappy than you are right now. What have you got to lose? So I went through this whole period of just figuring out what is it about public speaking that I can actually do as a living. And that's where LinkedIn really helped me because in a way I built in public. I started posting about anything and everything. I just had this idea in my head that it's going to be LinkedIn that's going to help me build this business. But I had no idea how. I hadn't taken a course. I wasn't following a LinkedIn guru. I didn't have an MBA, nothing. So I just started posting and I started getting traction around the topic of public speaking. And I had always known in a way that people were scared of speaking in public, but I had no idea to what extent it affects their personal and professional lives, how crippled they feel, how suffocated they feel, how much they're holding themselves back because they don't feel comfortable on camera, they don't feel comfortable on stage. So that's how I found my calling. And I really feel like this second major pivot is the one that I had been working towards through 39 years of just meandering and going down rabbit holes that I never belonged in. So now I coach people to speak better on stage and on camera. And that's really, really very close to my heart.
Beautiful. Well, Nausheen, this was a blast. I knew it would be. And to all of our audience, share with us, what stood out to you? What questions do you have? How are you doing in your public speaking adventure? And thank you again for joining us right off track. And we look forward to having you on your next adventure with us. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anya.
My pleasure.